Do you doubt your ability to do something, and that doubt actually ends up holding you back? Self-doubt is one of the biggest problems in the world today. Actually, thousands of articles are written about self-doubt, and they present trusting yourself as a solution to self-doubt. Trusting yourself could be catastrophic for your future, and in this video, I explain to you why. My name is Dennis Mboro. I'm a consultant at DSM Advisory, where we help entrepreneurs get customers by packaging their ideas well as helping people develop themselves through personal development content and personal branding as well. People talk about flying like it's nothing today. But a couple of years back, flying was not possible. And some people believed and trusted that they can make man fly. So in that case, trusting themselves, they were able to build something that eventually led to all of us being able to fly any place in the world that we would like. Others came up with remedies, treatments, medicines to help us cure from diseases that initially were death sentences. Others came up with roads so that we can be able to travel pretty much anywhere inland in a very short period of time. They believed and they trusted that transport or moving from one point to another is not supposed to take days. It should take a very short period of time. And that, of course, has led to a lot of positive impacts that we experience today. But a lot of accidents happen because of human error. They happen because people are so confident in their ability to drive that it ends up being damaging for society. There are a lot of people who are hurting from relationships that were started with good intentions. Many leaders have ended up taking their countries in very bad directions, causing economic distress out of decisions that were made in good faith or with the right intentions. Now, in those instances, those people also trusted themselves. Now, the question is, how do you know whether you can trust yourself? And how do you know who you are as an individual to have the confidence to know that you can actually trust yourself? It looks like there are people who make certain decisions, trusting themselves, and they lead to very good outcomes. And there are others who make decisions, trusting themselves, and they lead to very negative outcomes. So, if you're telling yourself that you should trust yourself when you're making a decision, how do you know that you are in the positive side of trusting yourself and not in the negative side of trusting yourself? People defend themselves with intentions, but remember, intentions do not protect you from positive or from negative outcomes. The question of understanding which self you are trusting comes from the knowledge, which I believe most of us have, that we are not just our conscious selves. We are not just the decision-making part of ourselves. There is also another part of ourselves that is super emotional. That is where we call the heart. And the heart normally is the one that tends to drive us, that tends to drive the decisions that we make on a day-to-day. The strange thing about the heart, or our hearts, is that they are dependent on circumstances. Like, it is possible for you to be very resentful of something today and tomorrow to be very joyful about the thing that you are resentful about yesterday. It is possible for you to resent your parent because of making a certain decision when you are young, while you're still an infant. But when you're grown up, you realize that they were making the decision in your interest. And that resentment all of a sudden turns to love and admiration. And you admire that they were able to make that decision in as much as you are not necessarily for it. So in the instance, say like now in that child instance, if back then you would have decided to make a rash decision, that's a decision you would have regretted later. Because even this self that you're talking about, this trusting yourself, is something that seems to be constantly changing. And if you know that yourself constantly changes, then how can you trust yourself? The reason why we find ourselves in self-doubt is because we trust ourselves. It's not because we do not trust ourselves. It's because we do trust ourselves. The self that we have at that point in time believes that you are not capable, and you trust that self that tells you that you're not capable. So in a sense, you're acting in a way that is natural to what you already believe. And if you are trying to trust yourself and act in a way that is not consistent with what you believe about yourself, you're going to be acting totally contrary to what is going on inside you as an individual. And that is probably what is causing that much stress and anxiety. Saying that you're trying to trust yourself, but you are distrusting the trusting of yourself that tells you that you are not capable, that you are not able, that you are not worthy, that you'll never be able to do something. You're trusting something that is not inherent and that is not ingrained in who you are as an individual. And at this point is where we get to understand that the self that we like to praise, the self that we want to trust, the heart that is in each and every one of us is broken. It is broken. It is broken because it does not align with reality. It does not align with our potential and what we believe we are and what we are supposed to do. More often than not, it is very frail and it is a pale reflection of who you actually are as an individual, who you are created to be, who you are meant to be in life. It is a pale comparison. So it looks like this part of you that is broken, that harbors all your emotions, most of your thoughts, most of your sentiments, and most of your actions is not aligned with the person that you can become, the person that you need to be doing this, to be doing great things. So now the question is, if we admit that this self, quote unquote, is broken, then it is very dangerous to trust something that is broken. And the evidence that it is dangerous to trust something that is broken is that we usually do not make the right decisions when we need to make the right decisions. We doubt ourselves when we need to have more confidence. We are embracing self-doubt, whereas we know that that self-doubt is actually preventing us from making progress. That is to say that the self that leads to positive outcomes is not a damaged self, but it is a redeemed self. It is a recovered self. It is a healthy self that aligns with who you are created to be. And if that internal work is not done to repair this damaged self that has pity and all these things, there is always going to be that conflict in yourself, whether or not you're supposed to trust yourself, whether you should have confidence in front of people, whether you should make decisions to move yourself forward, whether you should learn to be more social, pursue higher education, pursue your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, or the relationships that you have. There is always going to be that conflict inside. And when you experience just a little bit of progress, a little bit of realization of, let me say, the things that you aspire, you will find yourself making decisions to take you back to that place where it's consistent with the self that you already have at that point in time. The beauty of faith is that, especially for Christianity, there is that admission that the self is broken and it requires redemption, and there is a redeemer who comes to redeem that broken self. In other faiths and philosophies, there is also an admission of the same. But in today's world, where it is all driven by your own will, what you want to do is what you do. There is no admission that there is anything broken. It is assumed that everybody is good, and the fact that you can make a decision means that, yeah, You should be allowed to make any decision that you want. There is no admission that there is some redemption that is required, and that is leading to so many decisions that are being made from a place of brokenness. So many things that we are rationalizing and that we are accepting in today's society that were never supposed to be accepted. But because we accept or we imagine that all of us are okay, that we are whole and that there is no sense of brokenness, then it means that the things that arise out of brokenness can be mainstreamed and they can be made to be a part of society. And that is also confusing. That is also leading to all this confusion that we are seeing today. Coming back to the subject, it is getting to ask yourself that now that you want to overcome self-doubt, now that you want to learn to trust yourself, which self are you trusting? Are you operating out of a place of confidence, a place of safety, or is it a place of brokenness, a place of despondency? Getting to understand this when you are in decision-making situations is going to ensure that you don't make decisions that are catastrophic, that end up causing more harm than good. It is also going to help you whenever you are existing and even living with yourself. You're constantly looking inside to look at the places that you are broken, the places that you are hurting, the places that you're bleeding, and to start to actively work on them so that you can operate from a place of healing and a place of life. I like many times, in as much as I don't call my channel a Christian channel, I like many times to invite people just to listen to content, Christian content essentially, to do with the heart, so that you can get to understand the wickedness, the brokenness, and the filth that exists in the heart of a person when it is not redeemed, when it is not rejuvenated, when it is not given life. We actually say that it is dead. And the difference it makes when this person is redeemed, is healed, and is restored. That, my friends, is going to be the difference that is going to help you trust yourself, and not the broken self, but the redeemed self, the empowered self, and the self that aligns with who you are meant to be. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I ask that you reflect deeply on the words that I've said so that you can start to operate from a place of life and make decisions that actually not just move you, but move all of us forward. Imagine the kind of content you'd put out. Imagine the kind of conversations you'd have if we were all operating from that place of healing, from that place of abundance. Imagine how much of a better world we would have as a result. Until next time, Dennis Mboro, over.